Order 204 states that there shall be a select committee to be designated, the committee on appointments to be appointed by the House, consisting of the Speaker, the Chairperson, the Deputy Speaker, Leader of Majority Party, the Leader of the Minority Party, the Deputy Leader of Majority Party, the Deputy Leader of the Minority Party, and not more than 22 other members nominated by the House Business Committee, of course on the basis of proportional party membership in the House, taking into consideration the numerical strength of the parties and interest of independence. So on the list that members will be considering the appointment of members to the Committee on Appointments include Honorable Nelson Kowech, Honorable Rahab Washira Mukami, Honorable Dido Aliraso. These are 15 members that members will be considering to the Committee or Committee on Appointments. Honorable David Gikaria, Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, Honorable Mary Emase, Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood, Junet Mohammed, Honorable Caleb Stephen Mule, Honorable Abdi Shuri, Honorable Naisula Leisuda, David Kosing, and Honorable Mishimboko. So the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Sholei, as you can see, is in the chambers. She will be overseeing this morning sitting or presiding over this morning sitting. I will now hand you over for this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. Good morning. My name is Kamche Menza.
Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant us that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and the welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on motions.
And honorable members, just for your information, I know that many members, in as many as 200 members, did not have an opportunity to make their maiden speech. I just want to inform members that your maiden speech is your maiden speech, whether you do it today, tomorrow, or in 2 months' time. And as is the practice of Parliament, you are normally given some leeway. No matter what the debate is about, you'll be given some leeway to make your maiden speech within that particular motion or debate. So there's no cause to worry. I personally did my maiden speech 2 months after I joined Parliament, and I had more than 15 minutes. I think now we can move on. Leader for the majority party.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's indeed true what you say, that a number of members were not able to make their maiden speeches. And I'm really thankful that I can see the Honorable Zahir, Honorable Mandazi, and other new members in the House this early. And really I want to encourage, especially our new members, these are the very rare opportunities you get to make your maiden speeches, especially during these procedural motions. And I really want to encourage them to use this opportunity this morning. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me to now move, Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 97(1), this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including a special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover and 10 minutes for each other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I think for the benefit of our new members, these procedural motions on limitation of time, Honorable Speaker, are customary, just to allow ourselves to have adequate time for the movers and those who are seconding them, and to move second, and also have some last 10 minutes to reply. And I realized, Honorable Speaker, last night, if you were here, at the time I was replying on the presidential speech, I had close to 20 members asking me to donate a minute, and only had 10 minutes to make my reply and donate time. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it's good for even all our good new members to note that at the conclusion of a debate, it is indeed possible for the mover to donate a minute or two. And maybe if you are alone and you have not had a chance to contribute, I can donate 9 out of the 10 minutes to you. And I just beg to reply if I have nothing to say in response, or anybody who was a mover of a certain motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, many of our members will have at least 10 minutes to have their take on any motion. And I want to encourage members. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm to speak at this time, at the beginning of any session of Parliament. But with time, this dissipates, and I want to encourage members to please take your time. The time to make your mark in the House is not in the middle of the session. It is usually at the beginning of the session. In your maiden speech, where you will speak uninterrupted for the 10 minutes or so. Therefore, let me, without saying much, ask our leader of minority, the Honorable Pio Wandai, to second this motion.
Madam Speaker, this being a procedural motion, I wouldn't say much. But before I second it, Madam Speaker, I want to obviously associate myself with the remarks that have been made earlier on the enthusiasm and interest of members to make maiden speeches on the floor of this House, and indeed to contribute to motions. Now, Speaker, since yesterday but one, I've received numerous complaints from a number of members about logging in, pressing the button, and queuing for eternity. Some of them have made very interesting accounts that their positions on the screen, I don't know how to call it, kept shifting, moving from 2 to 10 to 15, 30, back to 10, and so on and so forth. I know this could be an issue of technology, perhaps, but Madam Speaker, you know from tradition and practice, right from the 11th Parliament, we have had a situation where the Speaker has developed a practice of following the order of requests for making contributions, even though, of course, from time to time he has to balance other interests, the regions and so on and so forth, including even the opposite sides. But I may want to perhaps plead with you that for us to start on the right footing, we perhaps have opportunity to explain to members the criteria upon which they get to be given a chance to speak on the floor of the House, so that there is no feeling or perception that there is some application of unfairness and so on and so forth. So that's basically what I wanted to say, because I've got a lot of complaints from across the divide, if I may say so, but more so from my side of the coalition. Yeah, I hope that's something that can be addressed amicably and without really much ado. Two, of course, you know, these members are anxious to be seen to be talking, and that's why they're here, really. Their constituents want to see them on the screen, want to hear their voices discussing issues of national importance and issues of interest to them in the constituencies. Two, Madam Speaker, I wish to, of course, second the motion as moved by the Honorable Chungwa. It's basically really a matter of limiting time for debate, which has been a matter of practice and tradition. So without further ado, I second.
Thank you, Leader of Minority. Before I propose the question, I do agree with you that it's important for members to understand the criteria. Yes, the standard criteria is that you follow the order in which one logged in. As to if numbers moved back and forth, I think the IT team will look into that if there was a challenge. Some members complained that they were in the list and then suddenly they weren't on the list and their machine went off. Others couldn't log in at all, but I think those matters will be addressed by the IT department. But yes, members, we do follow the order. But yesterday being the first few days of Parliament, it was also important that if 3 persons from one region were following each other, then the only correct thing to do is to balance by skipping to the nearest one from a different part of the country and different political party and so on, and also just making sure that there's also a gender balance. You may have seen that maybe Martin Wanyonyi was right at the bottom, but we did jump to him because he represents a certain class. But we will get to improve as we go along. So members, think we will look into that. Thank you. I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including a special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover and 10 minutes for each member speaking, except the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Can I see those who... Okay. So the mood of the House is that we put the question. Okay. Honorable members, I put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any motion, including a special motion, be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover and 10 minutes for each member speaking, except the leader of majority party and the leader of minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and that the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of majority party, the leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Will as many of this opinion say aye? Aye. And will as many as of the contrary opinion say no? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion, appointment of members to the Committee on Appointments.
Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, maybe before I move the second motion, it's worth noting that having passed that procedural motion, now the motion this is order number 9, Honorable Speaker, I believe now subject to those timelines. And I'll just move on, Honorable Speaker, to move the motion that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 204, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Appointments, in addition to those specified under paragraph 1. 1, the Honorable Nelson Koech, MP. 2, the Honorable Rehab Washira Mukami, MP. 3, the Honorable Dido Ali Raso, MP. 4, the Honorable George Gitonga Murugara, MP. 5, the Honorable David Gikaria, MP. 6, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, MP. 7, the Honorable Mary Emase, MP. 8, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood, MP. 9, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, CBS, MP. 10, the Honorable Caleb Amisi, MP. 11, the Honorable Stephen Mule, MP. 12, the Honorable Abdi Shurie, MP. 13 is the Honorable Naisula Lesuda, MP. 14, the Honorable David Kosing, CBS, MP. And finally, number 15, the Honorable Mishim Boko, CBS, MP. Honorable Speaker, it's imperative to note that this House, Honorable Speaker, ought to have approved this committee on appointments at least within 7 days on assembly of a new House. And Honorable Speaker, you know the challenges we had, and we were not able to do this, but pursuant to the Speaker's directives on the 6th, in his message on the 6th of October, you remember he did indicate that we need to have this committee set up by at least 12th of October, which, Honorable Speaker, I believe is today. So we are at least within time to have this committee in place, and members are aware that also His Excellency the President did convey a message to the House nominating for appointment certain persons to the offices of Attorney General, Secretary to the Cabinet, and those who will take office as Cabinet Secretaries. But for that to happen, for them to be able to take office, Honorable Speaker, members are also aware that they must go through vetting. And the committee then that is charged with that responsibility to consider these nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretaries is this committee. And therefore, it's quite a very important committee that is set out also in our Constitution, Honorable Speaker. This is done pursuant to under Article 152, Sub-Article 2, and Honorable Speaker, if you allow me to read that the President shall nominate and with the approval of the National Assembly, appoint Cabinet Secretaries. Honorable Speaker, that being a constitutional obligation that has been given to this House through this committee, then none of these cabinet secretaries, or indeed the Attorney General or the Secretary of the Cabinet, will take office and transact business on behalf of the people of Kenya and the government of Kenya until and unless they are approved, considered by this committee and approved by the House. Honorable Speaker, because I see the Leader of Minority Emeritus, the Honorable John Mbadi, in a very animated conversation with somebody behind me. Let me also take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to thank the leadership of the minority party in the House. Because you remember, Honorable Speaker, in the 12th Parliament, we considered appointees or nominees to cabinet on one side of the political divide without the participation of the minority. And my hearty congratulations to the leadership of the minority in the 13th Parliament, because they have been very magnanimous and exhibited very good leadership. When we met at the House Business Committee yesterday, we were able to go through the list of proposed names, both from the majority party and the majority and minority parties, and we agreed unanimously on the names that are here before the House. And you will bear me witness that if you look at the names, Honorable Speaker, they are not just seasoned members of this House, but members who also represent various interests with a very good balance, both regional balance, ethnic balance. We have even considered religious balance and other interests in the country, Honorable Speaker, and to make sure that we afford the people of Kenya the opportunity, because these are things that we will do in a very transparent and accountable manner as a House. The people of Kenya will be able to follow us live on television as we vet the cabinet secretaries. And Honorable Speaker, it's also worth noting for the benefit of members of the public that indeed the office of the clerk of the National Assembly has already notified the general public of the details of the said vetting, and what awaits therefore is this committee to commence the necessary approval by this House. And I do want to believe, Honorable Speaker, that if there are any Kenyans out there who have memoranda, who have anything that they would want to submit to the House and the committee to consider during the vetting process, they know they have, I think, until Thursday of this week to be able to submit such memoranda. And I want to assure the country that this committee will consider all memoranda that are brought before the House, and we will be fair and just to everybody. Those who will submit memoranda will have a fair opportunity to be heard or their memoranda to be considered, but also afford those against whose names or persons memoranda have been submitted an opportunity also to be heard and to have their say before the committee. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to belabor this because I'm sure having passed the procedural motion, members are also eager to contribute, but I want to encourage all of us to support this. As I said, it's a committee that we have agreed upon between ourselves in the majority party and my colleagues in the minority. And again, let me once again commend the leadership of the minority that this time round in the 13th Parliament, and indeed this is the spirit we want to see going forward, as His Excellency the President did beseech the House, a bipartisan approach to issues. Honorable Speaker, none of the nominees who have been nominated for appointment as cabinet secretaries is assured of their job until the House approves. And Honorable Speaker, it is also important, even as we approve these nominees, soon we shall be changing our standing orders to have now whoever is approved as a cabinet secretary to appear before this House to answer to questions, statements, and matters that are of concern to members of the public. Therefore, let me just, even as we wish all the nominees all the best as they prepare to appear before the Appointments Committee, also alert them that I am certain all these members in the 13th Assembly are very eager to hold them to account on their actions in public and in private, and also tell them early enough that His Excellency the President has made it clear, at least to those of us in the leadership, that he will allow Parliament to exercise our mandate without hindrance, without undue influence and interference. Honorable Speaker, we should relax when we see His Excellency the President appear for lunch. We must always remember him and the Deputy President are former members of Parliament, and it's good to be able to interact with members of Parliament. It's one of those few and rare opportunities when we get the executive coming for lunch in the legislature. Honorable Speaker, we continue to welcome them, but also we will do our work as members of Parliament to oversight and offer meaningful oversight on government. And I want to invite even those of us in the minority and even ourselves in the majority to exercise that oversight role and our representation role in this House without fear. I think His Excellency the President has also been emphatic that the days when you had to be coerced to take a certain political position are way behind us now. And nobody will be coerced, nobody will be intimidated to take whatever position, even in the approval of these nominees, Honorable Speaker, as we consider the appointment of this appointments committee. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I want to again appeal to all of us, even as we debate the appointment of these names, Honorable Speaker, to be able to contribute to this motion, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kitui Central, what is your point of order?
You know, Honorable Speaker, our standing orders do allow that when a member says point of order, he should be given a chance to say what is wrong with what has been said. Honorable Speaker, I'm listening to my friend, the Majority Leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and he's saying oversight belongs to the minority side. I think our constitution is very clear. Oversight is the work of all members of Parliament. Because in this Parliament, we don't have the government in the House. So I would want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, to declare my friend out of order because he's misleading Kenyans. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Leader of Majority.
Honorable Speaker, you know Dr. Makali Mulu is my friend, as he indeed says. But I think from where he's sitting, he was not listening to me. And if he was listening to me, he didn't hear what I said. Because I said I want to encourage those of you in the minority party, as I also encourage those of us in the majority party, to exercise our oversight role without fear of intimidation, without fear that anybody will coerce you, anybody will come to audit your CDF on account of your position, anybody will take you to DCI for the positions you take. Therefore, Honorable Makali, relax. You have nothing to fear. But indeed, what he's saying is true, and it's just what I had said. Maybe it bypassed his ears, that our role as members of Parliament is to oversight government. And that's why I did encourage us, even as we settle down and we have the House Procedures Committee, let us hasten to amend our standing orders to ensure that these cabinet secretaries don't grow horns as soon as they are appointed. And they must know that the people who have vetted them, the people who have approved them, reside in this House. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, they must be responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Kenyan people that are represented by their representatives in this House. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I was just concluding and encouraging all of us to support this very bipartisan and well-balanced committee. And I want to encourage members of this committee, without preempting debate, Honorable Speaker, we this afternoon could consider, from what I see on the business for the afternoon, Honorable Speaker, the calendar of the House, and the reason maybe we will need a short break at the end of this week is for this committee and the Committee on Selections to be able to take time to consider the work that is ahead of them, so that we also allow His Excellency the President to appoint those that will have been approved by the House, Honorable Speaker. And with that, I beg to move and I want to request my good friend and leader of minority to second this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Leader of minority.
Madam Speaker, I'll rise to second this motion. And as I do so, let me begin by saying that the appointment of this committee is obviously a matter which is in line with the Constitution and Article 152, Article 2. It is this House that has got the power and mandate to approve the appointment of those who have been nominated by the President to serve as cabinet secretaries. Again, of course, this is buttressed by our own standing order number 45. Madam Speaker, why I'm saying this is the notion that sometimes gets peddled out there that this House is simply a rubber stamp. Far from it. This House cannot be a rubber stamp. This House, in vetting nominees for appointment as cabinet secretaries, is exercising its constitutional duty under Article 152, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution. This past 1 week, I was amazed to read in one of the dailies a notable columnist by the name Barack Muluka was quoted as having said that the president should be given freedom and leeway to appoint those whom he wants to work with, that there should be no impediments being placed on the part of the president choosing those whom he wants to work with. You know, Madam Speaker, the problem in this country is sometimes about intellectuals who, when they turn into apologists of the establishment, are getting their thinking wrong or losing their mind sometimes. Because nothing could be further from the truth. We are a House comprising of honorable members of Parliament.
Member for Westlands, what's your point of order?
From both sides of the divide.
Madam Speaker, it is not a call for a point of order. I was just queuing to contribute to this motion.
Okay, then maybe what we do, there is 50 requests to speak and 5 interventions of exactly the same number of people, the same people in that order. So maybe it's just better to remove your intervention button and be on the request queue because you're all there. And I can name those members: member for Tharaka, member for Mumias East, member for Kachiliba, member for Malava, and each of you are actually in that order in the request at the top of the page.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Of course, I hope you will indulge the honorable member for Westlands when the time comes. Madam Speaker, what I was saying is this is one of the most critical duties of the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya under the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Madam Speaker, the idea of vetting persons nominated to be appointed as state officers is a very noble idea. And if you want to know how serious this exercise is in some jurisdictions, you can take a visit to the U.S. Senate, during confirmation hearings. It is such a serious exercise that the Capitol Hill comes to a standstill when the U.S. Senate is conducting confirmation hearings of nominees appointed by the President of the United States of America. And us being a presidential system, in line with the US system, we need to equally take this exercise seriously. So the point I'm making here is, when this House sits, and indeed under Article 152, sub-Article 2, and Standing Order 45, this House in its entirety is the organ that does the vetting. The committee, of course, will do the nitty-gritties, but this House has got the ultimate power to reject or approve every single nominee. It's a duty we must exercise judiciously and with utmost decorum and very seriously so. Madam Speaker, you know, we have been told that the Constitution provides frameworks for these appointments, of course, as we know. But, Madam Speaker, even as the committee sits, the Committee on Appointments, once approved today, starts its sittings to deal with this matter. I will be asking the committee from the very beginning, and this is very important, that even as we look at the suitability or otherwise of individual persons who have been nominated by the President, you need to look at the whole package first in context. In context. Does it meet the tenets of the Constitution? For instance, we know clearly under Article 10 of the Constitution that talks about values, principles of good governance, national values. We know there are issues of equity, regional balance. Do we have a sense of that in the entire package? That is very important, even before you get to address the suitability of individual members. That's very important. Does it meet gender balance? Does it address issues of persons living with disabilities, and so on and so forth? So that is very important. But when we finally embark on addressing the issues to deal with individual persons, we must not lose sight of the requirements of the Constitution. We must not lose sight of the dictates and requirements of the Leadership and Integrity Act, the Public Officer Ethics Act, and the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act. Madam Speaker, I'll be pleading with the members of this committee, and indeed the whole House, that we take it upon ourselves to interrogate, fairly of course, but very, very intensely, each and every individual. Each and every individual. Because, Madam Speaker, this country has a population of over 50 million people, out of whom more than or about 25 million are adults, who of course merit or qualify to be given appointments to hold public offices. And therefore, if the President brings the names of persons who, in the wisdom of this House, don't pass the suitability test, we are not trying to dictate the President on who to appoint. No. Far from it. We are simply telling the President that, please, you have the time to go back and pick from amongst 25 million or so Kenyans those who can pass the test. That's what we are saying in short. And I'm not inciting anybody. I'm simply preparing ground for the committee and the whole House that when embarking on this onerous task, we must be alive to the dictates of the Constitution and other statutes that govern generally matters of governance and good order. Madam Speaker, let me say this as I conclude. Let me say this. We have been told a number of times, and we agree, that the Constitution of Kenya guarantees innocence. There's a presumption of innocence until one is proved guilty or otherwise. But again, if you look at
member for Ugenya,
respect for my neighbor and friend, probably senior, the member for Gunja. You're just in law school, so you could be my senior. Now, Speaker, is he preempting debate on the names that could come to this floor? Is he preempting debate on what could happen in the committee of appointments hearings? Because by going the way he's going, Madam Speaker, I fear that he's already made up his mind about the debate he's going to have when the names come to this floor, Madam Speaker. Is he in order?
Madam Speaker, I've been very careful, if you've been keenly following my comments. I haven't mentioned any name, and I will not, for sure, at this point in time. I'm just trying to lay the basis. It's my duty, really. It's my obligation to guide my members and everybody else who may want to be guided, that this is a very serious exercise that we must approach with a lot of seriousness on our part. Madam Speaker, I want to say this, that persons being appointed to state offices or public offices, just as the Constitution requires, must be persons whose conduct bring honor, dignity, and everything else that is positive to those offices. So I just want to plead, Madam Speaker, as I second this motion, that this is one such exercise that this House, once it embarks on, the country must be convinced that the House has done justice, not only to the process itself, but to even those persons whose names have been brought before the committee and the House for approval. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Order 204, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the committee in addition to those specified under paragraph 1. 1, the Honorable Nelson Koech MP. 2, the Honorable Rehab Washira Mukami MP. 3, the Honorable Dindo Ali Raso MP. 4, the Honorable George Gitonga Murungara MP. 5, the Honorable David Gikaria MP. 6, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi MP. 7, the Honorable Mary Emase MP. 8, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood MP. 9, the Honorable Junet Muhammad CBS MP. 10, the Honorable Caleb Amisi MP. 11, the Honorable Stephen Mule MP. 12, the Honorable Abdi Shure MP. 13, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda MP. 14, the Honorable Philip David Kosin CBS MP. 15, the Honorable Mishi Boko CBS MP. I can see that there are those who want to contribute. You can do so by way of putting in the requests. I think on top of my page, I have member for Starehe constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to address the House. My name is Amos Mwago, member for Nairobi City, Starehe. So first I want to thank God for giving me this opportunity to arrive to this House and being able to come and contribute on matters of national interest in this House. I also want to thank the great people of Starehe constituency for having elected me as a member of parliament to represent them in this House. I will also not miss out on congratulating you, Madam Speaker, on your election as a Speaker of the House, as a Deputy Speaker of the House, and also Mr. Wetangula for being elected as Speaker of the House. Okay, mine is very simple. I've been elected to this House to represent people who mainly are hustlers, as the government of the day came up with this narrative to this house. So basically, my constituents are looking forward to how this 13th parliament or the government of the day is going to help them, because based on the so many promises that the president promised us, my people are very optimistic that this is their time, because the government has come in on a wave of economic liberation, and most of the people in Nairobi City are really expecting so much that has been promised to them, that it will be achievable, the business space and the business environment will be conducive for them to do business. There are going to be new markets that are going to be built in Nairobi City to accommodate the very many people who are very unemployed. Job opportunities are going to come to them through this government. So in general, my constituents are very hopeful that their livelihoods will change. And that's why I come here to represent them as one of them and come to bring their grievances on this house. I really want to thank the president on the promises that he's given the people of Starehe, starting with what he talked about, the Hustlers Fund. Very many people in Nairobi, as you know, have come from up country to come to Nairobi looking for opportunities. And they are very optimistic that there are going to be measures and structures and systems that is going to make sure that their businesses are safeguarded, their businesses thrive, and their business can continue being on a growth path. About the issue of housing, I am a member of parliament for a constituency that has a very huge population that live in the slums. And these people are very optimistic that the upgrade affordable housing plan that the government promised is going to come and help them, maybe redeem their livelihoods and give them decent housing. But their major concern is, there has been a concern that maybe the structures that are going to be used in the affordable housing schemes may not be able to address the real issues that the people are going through, because you have seen other housing plans being brought on board where people who benefited are not really the slum dwellers. These houses have been brought up and then they've been sold out to other people who are not actually the residents of this area. So for us, it becomes like a scheme to evacuate some people and develop these places, then they are later on sold to people who are not actually, they are not needed people. So that is one of the concerns that my constituents have raised about this housing, how affordable housing thing. We want participation to be between even the local stakeholders, the champions of real affordable housing, who are the structure owners, the landladies and the landlords who own those structures in the slums, are the real champions of affordable housing. But most often than not, when you have these upgrades, these people are taken for granted, they're evacuated from their land, the houses are brought up beautifully, and then they are sold to people who have money with them. So that is one of the issues that my people are raising, and it's an issue that we need to address, because we cannot displace people and bring in other people who are not our constituents. Okay, on the matter at hand about the appointment committee, we really urge the people of that committee to really vet the nominees wisely, because we are in a new economic dispensation. We've never tried this bottom-up model. So when this bottom-up model, it is in initial stages, we need people who understand it very well to be the drivers of this model, people who are able to articulate issues, and people able to meet the expectations that have been, the expectation that the people have with them on the ground, because people are so hopeful about this whole bottom-up model. So if we don't have the right drivers of this model, it might just turn out to be something else. It might just turn to be something else that won't work. Because in the ministry, like for the Ministry of Trade, where most of my constituents are traders, the narrative has changed from being these big traders, but it has been brought to be about mamambogas, boda people, and the people in the informal sector. And my people expect that the Minister for Trade is going to address the issues from those simple setups, those cottage industries, those informal sector. How are they going to formalize the informal sector, which employs so many people in this city? How is he going to go around the issue of of the imports and the import duty. How is he going to go about the issue of taxes, the issue of increasing the tax base and reducing the taxes on our people? The way we are going to expand opportunities to reach out to other regions, the way our people can be able to trade with other regions. So I think when it comes to vetting, issues on integrity should take center stage, issues on capability should take center stage, and experience too, because we really hope that whoever gets into that Ministry of Trade, we as Nairobians, is going to liberalize trade in this Nairobi. We expect more markets to be built so that they can accommodate our people. We expect so much that will change in our economy as we try to adopt this bottom-up economy. We expect us to be the key players, people who run small businesses in this Nairobi, to be the people on the table, making recommendations, participating, and maybe in decision making about how they are going to have the economies of the day run in this government. I would also like to say it is also another transformational period where the politics maybe have changed from where they are. They have come down to the politics of the local mwananchi. So we expect this cabinet that is going to be appointed by the president to show some difference in the way they are going to run their affairs, to show their relation with the local mwananchi still. They should retain the local mwananchi relationship just like they were doing when they were campaigning. They brought the local mwananchi to be their point of focus, and I expect even if when they are running the government, they should also consider the local mwananchi. And as we go forth, we also have our questions as the youth of Kenya, the representation of the cabinet, about the youth representation of the cabinet. We have a question on that. I know the committee that's going to vet is going to look into regional balances and everything, but also our role as the youth. We look forward to seeing it represented in the cabinet. We also have another question of incorporating ICT in all the operations of the government, because as we know, with the 21st century, where the technology advancements is happening so fast, but in our country we are reluctant to adopt new technology in all these operations of our ministries. And with that, Madam Speaker, I say thank you so much, and I donate my 5 minutes to Babu Owino. Thank you.
I think your time is up. I now call member for Kachiliba.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, in contributing to today's motion, I first of all also take this opportunity to recognize that this is my first time to speak in this august house, and so I will beg to get some time to be able to say and actually have my maiden speech. But above all, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Almighty God for having allowed me the opportunity to serve the people of Kacheliba. At the same time, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate you for having been elected as the Deputy Speaker of this House. I actually know, I have worked with you before, I actually know the capacities that you have. I'm sure you are able to perform above and beyond the expectation of this House based on our previous engagement. I've also watched you when you worked in the judiciary, and you did us proud. So, Madam Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity, this particular time, to thank the people of Kacheliba. These are the people that brought me to this august house. It was my first attempt to come to this august house, and they were able to give me the opportunity, most particularly the women that wore the most adorable, the most magnanimous, the most unique, and the trademark cloth called Lorwa of Kacheliba. You actually need to see this clothing for you to appreciate the kind of women that actually voted for me. So I want to thank them most obviously for giving me the opportunity and trusting in my capabilities to be able to represent their issues in this house. I also want to thank most particularly the chama of the party that I came with, the Kenya Union Party, that gave me the ticket to be able to actually vie and be a member of this august house. Thank you so much, the people of Kacheliba. Thank you so much, the youth and those that believe in the capacity of myself and those that will continue to believe on my capacity. I also want to thank my predecessor of Kacheliba constituency. I want to promise that it was a political duel, it was not an enmity, and the people had trust in me, and that I'm able to continue with the work that you did, and I wish you well in your endeavors. So, Mheshimiwa Mark Lomunokol, the one that I dethroned, I want to wish you well. Lastly, Madam Speaker, today we are here to be able to contribute to the motion of the committees that are actually going to vet the cabinet secretaries. And I want to appreciate the fact that we are given the task to discuss about this committee and also to give these committees our mind. I strongly believe that the Constitution is clear and the President has followed the Constitution when he appointed 7 out of the 21 women. Personally, I know vetting can throw and dethrone some of these women. I want to ask this House to consider more specifically the fact that when the women that are actually appointed or nominated by the President are actually brought in for vetting, these committees need to be very, very human in understanding them. This is the reason. They are only 7 out of 21. If one of them is vetted out, it basically means that we are not going to get the 1/3 gender rule that we've actually always looked for. So I think the President never allowed us to get an extra 1 or 2 more nominees beyond 7 for women, and basically meaning we need to have trust and faith in them. And so that is one of the asking. The other asking that I will ask the team that is going to vet the cabinet secretaries is to consider very critically those cabinet secretaries that are going to follow the standing orders that is going to be changed in the floor of this House. The standing orders in the floor of this House, the President asked that we need to change it so that the cabinet secretaries can be able to directly come to Parliament and be able to answer to questions. It is very easy for us to say that we are going to change the standing orders and the cabinet secretaries are coming here. But I know the practice will be immediately they are sitting and they actually grow horns like the leader of majority said, they will be sending their representatives. I want this House to not only consider the characters of the persons, but also to look at the persons and know the kind of persons that they are going to vet into this House. I actually have sat in the executive sometimes, and I know it is very easy for a cabinet secretary to travel abroad and be able to send representatives. We want the standing orders to be followed to the letter, and at the vetting point, I want that question be set before each of the nominees. If they are willing to come personally to this House to answer to questions, or if they are willing to send representatives like many of them will want to when they actually become the bosses and not the servants of the people. I also will wish that the committee that is going to vet these cabinet secretaries look at the issues that are affecting this country. Personally, I come from Kacheliba constituency. Members, to be told, I am from a new constituency in this country. Kacheliba is a constituency that became Kenya in 1972 when most of you are already Kenya. I am also a new member of parliament who was elected in a by-election within the main elections. So that when you did your elections on the 9th of August, I did my elections after 9th of August, that is on the 29th of August. That basically means I am a product of a by-election within an election, something that is so unique in this country. Kacheliba, by its name, just to bring it to speed, is a place where the colonialists used to sit and detain people who could not pay. So Ka means the home of, and Ajalipa means Ajalipa. So it is the home of the person who was arresting people who had not paid. I want this to be considered. This constituency basically means the people living in here could not have affordable means to pay the European or to pay the white man. And so as we vet the cabinet secretaries, let us consider areas that are far-flung, areas that have been oppressed by history, areas of people who have never known and tested the dignities that every other Kenyan have tested. Madam Speaker, I want to say this. I come from an area that is bedeviled with insecurity. Every time people mention of the Pokot community, people talk about people that are backwards. I want to state it clearly in this house so that even as we do vetting, that not every Pokot is a criminal. In fact, the criminals are very few, and they are in a very particular space that is not in West Pokot. I want this to be considered. The person that will take in the security docket, the internal security docket, will be a person that needs to consider how to handle issues of insecurity differently. From Kenyatta government, Moi government, Kibaki government, the Kenyatta Junior government, insecurity issues of the Kerio Valley has been treated with a lot of disdain. We've actually seen security person going in after insecurity incidences, and what they can only do is to earn a per diem that is in millions of shillings, that these monies could have been used to change the socioeconomic situation of this place, Madam Speaker. And so when we are looking at the cabinet secretary that will deal with internal security, I want the team to look at a person that will come with innovative way of dealing with the issues of insecurity, Madam Speaker. Because if we continue doing it the way we've done it before, then we are not going to change the situation. We will be speaking about insecurity in these regions for a long time. And I want, Madam Speaker, to say, because I will not sit in this vetting committee, I will want to ask every member that represents us in this vetting committee to ask the cabinet secretary nominee to know that situations need to be taken differently. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you so much. I will repeat again, your capacities and capabilities are beyond what I know, and I know you're going to surprise this House. Thank you so much, this House, for listening to me in the first speech, and thank you so much, the people of Kacheliba, for having the faith of giving me this opportunity to speak on your behalf in this House. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, member for Kacheliba. I now call upon member for Kisumu Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me first take this opportunity to congratulate you for having been elected as the Deputy Speaker of this House. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate all members of this august House for having been re-elected and elected, for those who are new like me in this House. Let me take a special opportunity to thank people of Kisumu Central for having faith in me to elect me as their representative to represent them in this august House. Kisumu Central is a business town. Kisumu Central is a business hub. Kisumu Central has a population of about 200,000. Kisumu Central has got a population of voters of 135,000. Kisumu Central has got 6 wards, and Kondele Barracks is in Kisumu Central. Kondele is undocumented barracks in Kisumu. Kisumu Central has got Nyalenda B as a ward, and I thank people of Nyalenda B. I thank Kondele people. I thank Railways Ward. I thank Kalolini Shaurimoyo. I thank the CBD, which forms the Market Milimani Ward, for having elected me to this august house. Madam Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to say that in Kisumu Central, we have slums and urban specific wards. I'm more concerned about Nyalenda B as a ward, which is flooded almost every single year. I would want to take this opportunity to talk to the Ministry of Special Program to say that Nyalenda B, which is seen as a town, should be treated like any other drought area, any other flooding area, that when the special programs is considering those areas which have got drought, should also consider Nyalenda B. Kisumu Central is a cosmopolitan town, a constituency, which is also a home of special talents. Some of the famous footballers who have played for Kenya comes from Kisumu Central, and I can mention Peter Dow, I can mention Oliech, for those who are fans of football. Kisumu Central is also a very peaceful constituency. Honorable Speaker, I must say that Kisumu Central has got some very important projects which are stalled, which have not been looked at over the years. And just to mention a few, Kikomi is a big and a sleeping giant in Kisumu that could create employment opportunities for the youth, that could create employment opportunity for farmers, because Kikomi is a fabric industry that, if rehabilitated, will be able to respond to some of our employment needs. Kenya Matches is a stall project in Kisumu. Fish industries, there are about 3 which are stalled in Kisumu, and I will be talking to various departments and ministries to ensure that these projects are brought back into action so that they can create employment. Honorable Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate the outgoing administration, the regime of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Under the handshake, they did show Kisumu Central people that they are also part of Kenyans. And as part of the handshake, we saw the rehabilitation of Kisumu Port. We saw the rehabilitation of railways line that is now moving up and down, improvement of some of the road networks, rehabilitation of the MV Uhuru ship, which is now a major transportation route to our neighboring countries, and revival of breweries, which is still ongoing. Honorable Speaker, some of our slums experience the worst floods in the region, and this is a problem that causes havoc to the community of those specific wards, and especially the residents of Nyalenda. It's worth noting that Kapwothe in particular in Nyalenda B, is also a very fertile area that, if the floods were controlled, it will be a food basket not only for Kisumu Central, but also for the whole of Kisumu County. Honorable Speaker, in the very near future, I will be exploring with other development partners, the ministries, and also the county to see how best we can mitigate the floods so that we open up that particular area for farming, which will eventually create employment, but also supply the much needed food for the area. Madam Speaker, I will be seeking special or specific interventions from the programs, special programs department, the relevant ministries, but also to look into short-term measures so that the people who have been displaced, people who are staying in churches and other social areas can be supported when other areas with drought and other areas with floods are being supported by other programs. As we speak, Madam Speaker, I have residents who are still staying in churches because of floods, and our appeal to special programs have gone unheard. Kisumu Central is a business hub. Kisumu Central is a fast-growing constituency and town. Kisumu Central is a fast-growing city with a lot of opportunities, and I would welcome, I would invite other honorable members who are interested in business to come and invest in Kisumu Central as a business hub. And there are opportunities for tourism. There are opportunities for hotel and economy. Madam Speaker, I welcome and invite those who are interested in investing in Kisumu. Madam Speaker, I'm aware that we finished the discussion on
Thank you, member for Kisumu Central. I now call upon the member for Gatundu South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to address this House. This is my first substantive address of this House. In fact, it is my maiden speech. Madam Speaker, I therefore would take that opportunity to thank the people of Gatundu South for having found fit to elect me to represent them in this House. And I also take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam Speaker, and the Speaker of the House for having been elected as Deputy Speaker and Speaker, respectively. And that too goes to the Deputy President and the President, Mutatis Mutandis. Madam Speaker, I come to this House on the background of a lot of unemployment. And as we discuss the business of the day and discuss the committee on appointment, it is not lost on me that this committee has to shoulder the responsibility of making sure that we have the people who are going to drive the agenda of this government. Without the cabinet, then it will be very hard to push the business of the government ahead. Therefore, they have huge responsibility on their shoulders. Madam Speaker, in as much as we finished discussing the presidential speech, it came very pregnant with a lot of information and a lot of issues that we need to address as a country. Madam Speaker, we are talking about employment, and we cannot have employment without looking at manufacturing without looking at industrialization of this country. But, Madam Speaker, our industrialization is hampered by our taxation or tax regime and the tax infrastructure that we have existing. I look at a tax regime where we now have a value addition, Mr. Speaker, a VAT tax that is very punitive to the business people. Madam Speaker, I am looking at the proposal that was put in this House suggesting that we should have a VAT regime that stops you as a business person from filing your returns if you have filed nil returns for 1 month. We must look at that and look at the changes that must be instituted to enable our people to have a proper working tax regime that is going to enable them invest in this country. Madam Speaker, we have this tendency of taxing our people on trade. As a manufacturer, we are paying electricity to a tune of 21 shillings to manufacture 1 kilogram of tea. This is because we have a tax on fuel. We have a tax on electricity that hampers our trade, that hampers production. We cannot therefore issue or give employment to our young people if we continue like this. I would therefore ask the committee that is now here to determine who is going to be the cabinet secretary in charge of industrialization, in charge of agriculture, in charge of finance, to look at our tax system and please enable business to be conducted in this country. Madam Speaker, the people of Gatundu South are worried a lot because they're one bill away, one hospital bill away from abject poverty. I look at a situation where we must fix our health sector so that we achieve universal health care. But for us, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, to achieve universal health care, we must address two issues. First, we must address NHIF. NHIF has been paying 80% of its payout to less than 25% of the hospitals. These are hospitals that are in urban centers that are accessed by very few people, and our people in the villages are left without access to NHIF and its services. I would ask the committee that will be formed here, and this House at large, to look into policy and laws that are going to enable NHIF create a proper working policy so that we are able to give services to our people in the villages. Madam Speaker, availability of medical care and medicine and medical supplies is pegged on the availability and the order fill rate capacity of KEMSA. But Madam Speaker, we have an institution in KEMSA that has been crippled by an availability of funds. The turnaround time right now at KEMSA is very low. All this is because KEMSA is supposed to have a budget that it fills by its own operations. But this House had seen it fit before to allocate some money so that procurement of medical supplies and basic but very essential medical supplies is available to our people. Madam Speaker, I would urge that we capitate that organization so that our people have medical supplies available to them when they need it, so that they do not die of very common and basic issues and lack of proper health care. Madam Speaker, I would also want to talk a bit about our importation. When you look at this House, you are looking at every everything that has come from another country other than this. We have a robust textile industry if given proper support. This is what would create employment for our people, because we cannot talk of development when we have a deficit of payment that is running to 2.5 billion US dollars in the last 1 year. Madam Speaker, for us to stop this, we must create again a tax regime that hampers importation of essential goods that are capable of being manufactured here and encourages the manufacture of the same, so that we create employment and we improve on our balance of payment. We need to do value addition. Where I come from, we have produce like tea, coffee, avocado, and other agricultural produce. But this agricultural produce goes to the market at a very low value. We control the world trade on tea. We are #1 exporters of tea as a country. The tea that we export is probably worth about $15 billion in a year. But we only get to benefit from 1.5%, from 10% of it, which is 1.5 billion US dollars in a year. Madam Speaker, we must enable our people here to value add our produce. Without value adding our produce, then we lose out on a lot of money that is supposed to be in this country. And it goes to other countries, and that money is repatriated to other countries. Madam Speaker, that will not be done if we do not reduce the bureaucracies around packaging materials. The greatest impediment to value addition in this country is tax on value addition materials and packaging materials for such produce and other produce, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have, again, a tax regime that goes to our people and hampers production again, because what should have been taxed at consumption or as wealth is taxed as trade. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want again to thank the people of Gatundu South for having found it fit to be represented in this House by myself, and also to assure them
Thank you. I now call upon member for Isiolo South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I am Mohammed Tubi, Bidu from Isiolo South constituency. First and foremost, I thank God for giving me the opportunity to be here today in this August House. Secondly, I thank the people of Isiolo South for giving me the opportunity. I tried it last time, and I thought I went through, but this time they gave me the opportunity, and here I am. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to tell, for the benefit of doubt of everybody, Isiolo South is located in Isiolo County, and Isiolo Town, geographically, is the center of Kenya country, the country called Kenya, this one of ours. Yes, it is in the center of the country, and it is on the border. It is on the border and gateway into the harsh environmental condition of northern Kenya. Isiolo is located just opposite the other side of Mount Kenya. When we hear about Mount Kenya, we talk about Mount Kenya the north, Mount Kenya the south, Mount Kenya the east, and we don't talk about Mount Kenya the south, the north. That north one is that environmental, that worst, harsh environment of the northern Kenya is where we start from. Madam Speaker, the people of Isiolo South asked me to pose a question that my predecessor in the 12th Parliament and 11th Parliament, all of them have been on record that they have been worst performers in this National Assembly. In the sense that they have been recorded that they have never participated in the debates in this House. And they blame the same on the speakers. I mean, Emeritus Justin Muturi. I don't know whether that is true, but that is what they say. Because of that, I have to give exactly what Isiolo South is all about. Isiolo South borders Garissa on the other side, borders Wajir on the other side. And this other side, it borders Meru County. And if you look at Meru County, just our neighbors, is well developed. Isiolo is known as a start of where problems are, both in security, on the issue of insecurity, on the issue of livestock death and all the, drought and all these things. And education-wise, it is amongst the counties which are, the constituencies which are lagging in education. Simply because we have a good constitution, a wonderful constitution, which talks about opportunities for everybody. Every Kenyan, because Kenya belongs to all of us, Kenya belongs to all of us, and we are supposed to get equal opportunities of whatever is supposed to be given out. That is what we are lacking in Isiolo South and the entire North. In the drought we are talking about right now, which is ravaging the country, that drought starts from Isiolo worst, the worst part of it. In Kenya we have four kinds of people. The agriculturalists who are farmers, the fishermen at the lake, those who are in towns, and the pastoralists. The most affected people in Kenya today, when it comes to drought, are the pastoralist communities. And the pastoral communities have received very, very, very minimal support from the government, successive government regimes. We hope that this regime, the new regime, will be able to focus on what is going to happen in Isiolo South, going down to the north, because development is lacking. All the infrastructures which you are seeing on our borders, in our neighbors, is not there in Isiolo and beyond. The insecurity issue. Isiolo may be the gateway of northern Kenya, but you may wonder that it is the boundary of Kenya. That is why we have all the military installations. Instead of it being on the border, we have military installations in Isiolo, stretching over to Garissa and to Turkana, I think. Why should we have this one? Because military installations are supposed to be at the border of the country. That means I attribute the insecurity of northern Kenya to some of these plans which were done at independence, where installations, military installations, are placed in the center instead of on the border. Isiolo is always faced by insecurity. We have our neighbors. Porous borders has been one of the issues which we are getting problems with. Madam Speaker, Isiolo is supposed to be changed. Northern Kenya is supposed to be changed by this regime. We have been marginalized from independence. We expect that now, the new constitution 2010, we expected that something has to change. But the way things are going now, unless it is being stopped, it's going to be the worst. I'm saying this because in the last parliament, there was the issue about 1 man, 1 shilling, one vote. And we are being blamed for being, our population is low. You cannot blame us when we live in that environment where we cannot. It becomes a problem for ladies or men to be able to produce and give the population the way the others are doing because of the harsh environmental conditions. So, Madam Speaker, it is now your turn, and the majority leader has been an advocate of one man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. And I think we have to discard that one. We have to help one another develop. The counties which have not been developed from independence should be brought up to the level, if not equal to those ones which are developed, but we can be able to make them at least be next to, at least development is supposed to be seen in those areas. I'm saying this and I'm praying. We have the land matters in Isiolo. Land, the community land. The northern Kenya, the rangelands are still under what we call community land. And the community land is supposed to belong to the communities of that county. And the communities of that county are pastoralists and sometimes nomadic pastoralists. That does not mean that there are no people in those rangelands. They are there. Our fight all through and insecurity all through has something to do with the resources and development, like I said earlier. And we have to think about this government now to at least face the northern Kenya, starting from Isiolo South and Isiolo Central, Isiolo North. That is the gateway into the vast northern Kenya. We have developments which have come up, Madam Speaker. Lapset is coming there. There are big projects earmarked for those areas. But are we getting the right thing? If Chinese who have been given the contracts bring their vehicles, thousands of vehicles to do the work, and bring cashews from outside, then are we getting our share bet is a question we have to do. Madam, with those few remarks, I say I thank Isiolo South, members of public, those who have voted me in, and I assure them that I will be there for them every time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, member for Emuhaya?
Honorable Speaker, I rise on a point of order on standing order number 95. That when you check the order paper, the next matter is dealing with the selection committee. And honestly, if you look at the progress of contributions, members are also digressing very well to use it to get to their maiden speech. And therefore, they can still proceed and do that even in the next order. So I want to ask that the mover be now called upon to reply. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Is that the mood of the House? Yes, and I think we shall, there were several speakers who were next in line. I think there was member for South Mugirango, Makueni, Nambale. I think we can move to the next motion and they will continue to contribute since it's similar. I think I agree with the member for Emuhaya on that. I now call upon the mover to reply. No, is it? I just put the question, okay. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is the pursuant to the provisions of standing order. They said the question. They said I just put the question. Okay. That pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 204, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the committee in addition to those specified under paragraph 1. 1, the Honorable Nelson Koech, MP. 2, the Honorable Rehab Washira Mukami, MP. 3, the Honorable Dido Ali Raso, MP. Standing, yeah. And I prefer, I think, Honorable Member for Seme, you should allow me to finish first. And yes, and you cannot shout point of order. I can see the intervention. And I shall start again. That pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 204, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the committee in addition to those specified under paragraph 1. 1, the Honorable Nelson Koech MP. 2, the Honorable Rehab Washira Mukami MP. 3, the Honorable Didi Ali Raso MP. 4, the Honorable George Gitonga Murungara MP. 5, the Honorable David Gikaria MP. 6, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi MP. 7, the Honorable Mary Amasa MP. 8, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood MP. 9, the Honorable Junet Muhammad CBS MP. 10, the Honorable Caleb Amisi MP. 11, the Honorable Stephen Mule MP. 12, the Honorable Abdi Shure MP. 13, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda MP. 14, the Honorable Philip Kosin, David Kosin, CBS MP. 15, the Honorable Mishimboko, CBS MP. Will as many as of this opinion say aye? Aye. And will as many as of the contrary opinion say no? The ayes have it. Leader for majority of the majority party. You announce first, yeah? Next order, members. And members, you cannot have a point of order over nothing. Nothing has happened at the moment. Member, the leader of majority party, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 172,
hold on, member. He has not called order number 10, please. What's your point of? You haven't even pressed the intervention button, so I will. Oh yes, I've seen you. All right, 036. Nominated member John Buddy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With all due respect, I think there is a procedure that we didn't follow. Madam Speaker, there is a procedure that we missed as a House. And Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member, Mboko Mlemba, requested for the mover to be called upon to reply. And the House first should have agreed with that we thought when you are rising to put a question, you are going to put a question on the House to give authority for the shortening of the debate for the mover to reply. So that didn't happen, and the mover has not replied to the motion. So we could not proceed to vote on the motion before the mover replies. So even before we go to the next order, Madam Speaker, let's get back and correct the procedure on the previous motion. Thank you.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
I'll call upon then the mover to reply on the original order. Then we shall come back to the next one, the next motion. Yeah. Okay. I asked if that the mood of the House. Yeah, I now want the mover to be called to.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I think the officers at the clerk's desk need to be more diligent in guiding you. Because indeed, when the Honorable Nyikal was trying to raise a point of order, it is that particular aspect that he was trying to raise, and I had also tried to raise it here, Honorable Speaker, but I think the officers here did not guide you accordingly, and it is only good that we correct that, and I do now beg to reply on that motion for the appointment of the members of the Appointments Committee, as I thank members who have contributed and all of you for the support to this committee, and assure members that this committee, as we have said, will be diligent in ensuring that we exercise our mandate in line with the Constitution, our own standing orders, and in exercise of our constitutional powers to be the house that oversights the cabinet, the house that will vet, and eventually on or before the 27th of this month, when we come back from the short recess, the members of that committee, I'm sure by now you should be aware that there will be no recess for you. It is a short working and busy working recess. So we should be able to table a report for approval, and we'll call upon the House to be there to consider that report when the time comes. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Before I rise to put the question, I just want to, I stand guided. I want to politely ask the senior members who've been in the House longer than me, Honorable Mbadi and Honorable Nyikal, try not to bully me. I'll figure this out. I'm a very fast learner, so don't bully me. No, but member for Seme, I think I take great exception if you shout from your chair. Yeah, so you can't do that. You can make your point of order. I will give you an opportunity to make a point of order properly. And I do stand guided. No, you can't speak without me giving you permission to speak. So let me proceed. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 204, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the committee in addition to those specified under paragraph 1. 1, the Honorable Nelson Koech MP. 2, the Honorable Rahab Washira Mukami MP. The Honorable Dido Ali Raso MP. The Honorable George Gitonga Murungara MP. 5, the Honorable David Gikaria MP. 6, the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi MP. 7, the Honorable Mary Emase MP. 8, the Honorable Abdul Rahim Dawood MP. 9, the Honorable Junet Muhammad CBS MP. 10, the Honorable Caleb Amisi MP. 11, the Honorable Stephen Mule MP. 12, the Honorable Abdishure MP. 13, the Honorable Naisula Lesuda MP. 14, the Honorable David Kosin, CBS MP. 15, the Honorable Mishi Boko, CBS MP. Will as many as of this opinion say aye? And will as many as of the contrary opinion say no? The ayes have it.
Order number 10, motion, appointment of members to the Committee on Selection.
Leader of the Majority Party.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I now beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Article 172, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Selection in addition to those specified under paragraphs A and B. And Honorable Speaker, I would beg to move this motion in an amended form on some of the names, and I will indicate, Honorable Speaker, where I intend to do that. And that's only on the majority side. Honorable Speaker, number 1 is the Honorable Eric Karemba Mushangi Njiru, MP. Number 2, the Honorable John Kiarie Wawero, MP. Number 3, the Honorable Beatrice Kahai Adagala, MP. Honorable Speaker, number 4, the Honorable Jafet Miriti Karekembuki, CBS MP. Number 5, the Honorable Julius Kipbiwot Meli, MP. Number 6, Honorable Speaker, in place of the Honorable Joash Nyamoko Nyamache, to put in that place the Honorable Silvanas Osoro, the Chief Whip MP. The Honorable Mother Wangare Wanjira, MP. The Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose, MP. Honorable Speaker, number 9 is the Honorable Lea Sopiato Sankaire, MP. Number 10, the Honorable Anne Muratha Wanjiko Mogo, MP. Number 11, the Honorable Caroline Jepto Ngelechei, MP. Number 12, the Honorable Joseph Majimbo Kalasinga, MP. Number 13, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, CBS MP. Number 14, the Honorable Joshua Kimilu, MP. Number 15, the Honorable Jessica Mbalu, MP. Number 16, the Honorable Julia Sunkuli, EGH, MP. Number 17, the Honorable Samuel Arama, MP. Number 18, the Honorable Ken Chonga, MP. The Honorable Nabi Nabuera, MP. Number 19. Number 20, the Honorable Mulhair Harun, MP. And lastly, number 21, the Honorable Ali Wario Guyo, MP. Honorable Speaker, as I've noted, other than what is already published on the order paper, the amendment of the majority side is to include the Chief Whip in place of the Honorable Joash Nyamoko. And I think we've done that just pursuant to the regional balance that we are trying to achieve. The Honorable Joash Nyamoko hails from the same region with the Honorable Chief Whip, and it is indeed important that the Whip be present in this elections committee. Honorable Speaker, these committee members will appreciate, and I know those in the leadership, both in the minority and in the majority, have had a lot of engagements with members who are seeking to be placed in certain committees. And I have seen people queuing outside the office of the leader of minority, just like there are people queuing outside my office and that of the whip or the deputy leader of my majority, seeking to be placed in committees. And it's good for members to appreciate that this is a committee that is under our standing orders, that is charged with the responsibility of placing you in committees. Not the leader of minority, not the leader of majority. It will be this committee. These members are the members now that you need to engage to place you in the committees of your choice. But I'm certain, as we have done in the majority party, we had given our members the opportunity to pre-list the committees of their choice. And I want to encourage even my colleagues in the minority to organize themselves and at least get your members to pre-list the committees that they desire, so that by the time we get an opportunity, as and when these committees are approved by the House, to sit, we make our work easier on a list that are agreed from both the majority and the minority, so that we make, it's a very tedious exercise and one that will take a lot of time, or one that will require us to balance various interests, to be able to place members in the committees where they are best suited, where your skills, and I'm sure all our members at the time of induction, we had our biodata taken, we have copies of your CVs, so we'll be able to place you in the committees of choice, and we will endeavor to make sure that you are placed in your committees of choice and those that are in line with your skills and competencies. But also, I want to appeal to members, because I have seen, for instance, on our side, on the side of the majority, Honorable Speaker, the members who had requested to be listed in the 8 or so slots that we have on the majority side, in the committee for transport, I was just looking at the numbers last night, 79 members desire as their first choice to be listed in the committee for transport. And I know it is because of the challenges that members have in their constituencies with roads and infrastructure in our backyards. But I want to assure members, as much as you may not all 79 members in the majority cannot fit in that one committee, we will endeavor to list the 8 who will be lucky, the selections committee will find suitable to sit in that committee. Of course, considering, like we have done even in this committee, regional, ethnic, party balance, including representation of our independents. And you see even in the selections committee, the Honorable Ngelechei is there representing the independents in this elections committee. The Honorable Caroline Jepto Ngelechei is there representing our small parties are also represented in this committee, and therefore we will take care of the interests. And I want members to trust that this committee will be diligent, will be fair and just to each and every one of us, to make sure that we serve in committees where we'll give our best to the service of our nation. Honorable members, as I have indicated, it may not be possible to place everybody in their first choice, but we will endeavor to place you either in your first, second, or third choice. We'll encourage you to engage with members of this committee with time, and also to be very understanding. And as I said, I've also encouraged the leader of minority to hasten together with your leadership to get the list of members who you may nominate to certain committees, so that by the time we meet, most of the groundwork will have been done, and the committee just sits to ensure that there is a proper balance, that we are placing the right people in the right committees. And lastly, just to indicate to members of all of us as members that every committee of this House is as important as any other committee. And being a member of Parliament, you have the opportunity to attend committees of any committee that you want to attend. Nobody stops you from, if you're a member, for instance, of the Transport Committee, nobody will stop you from attending in line with our standing orders. You just need to notify the chair in advance. You want to attend the Budget Committee meetings, you want to attend the Energy Committee meetings, and if you have an interest, for instance, in water and irrigation, because I've seen most of the members are requesting to either be in transport, budget, water and irrigation, health, energy, public accounts committee. Nothing precludes you from attending those committees. And Honorable Pio and I will tell you, when he was chair of the public accounts committee, many of us, or when you have a matter that you are interested in, of course, if it's something that you have a pecuniary interest, you must declare that interest. But you just need to notify the chair. If you want to articulate issues that maybe a minister is appearing before the transport committee, you want to articulate issues that relate to your constituency, you are allowed under our standing orders to appear before that committee with just a simple notice to the chair and be able to articulate issues. Therefore, let us not have very intransigent positions that I must be in this or that committee, and appreciate that with the reduced numbers of our committees after the changes in our standing orders, we have the minority side in most committees will get only 7 members, and they must, within those members, accommodate all the political parties within the coalition. We must also accommodate the independents. Therefore, the numbers that we may expect may not necessarily be what all our expectations are. Honorable Speaker, I will beg members that we quickly expedite with this business of having this selections committee in place, so that by the time we come back from the short recess, without anticipating today's afternoon's business, Honorable Speaker, we'll have completed this business. These committees, again, we have a lot of work. I am hoping, hopefully, By that time, probably His Excellency the President may have nominated persons to sit as principal secretaries. These committees will have their work cut out in the vetting of principal secretaries. Therefore, when we say we want to balance, it is with that understanding that you also need both ranking and seasoned members in certain committees. You also need new members in those committees to be able to learn what goes on in those committees. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, again, with the indulgence of the leader of minority, I wanted to request the leader of minority emeritus to second this motion on behalf of the leader of minority, the Honorable John Badi, to second, and I beg to move.
The Honorable John Badi.
Actually, the leader of majority has just ambushed me. I least expected this. But anyway, let me take this opportunity to second this motion. And I know it is not an easy job. I have been here before. I have served as minority leader in the last parliament, and I know how difficult it is to really balance off the interests of members. And this selection committee has a tough job, but the committee will be helped by the whips and the majority and minority leaders. So their work may not be so difficult, because once the leadership of both sides have sat down and have balanced off the interests, and I'm sure both sides constituted a small committee to look into this matter. I want to just urge for fairness when we know, I don't know for whatever reason, but there are some committees, Madam Speaker, that are being considered to be very important in quotes. In my first term in this parliament, all committees were almost the same. There was no committee that had a better weight or a higher weight than the others. But it has, over the time, grown that there are some committees which are more attractive, like the Budget and Appropriations, like the Transport or Infrastructure Committee, the Energy Committee, Finance and National Planning. My advice to this committee is to ensure that no member sits in more than one of those committees. Public Accounts Committee, if you are in the Public Accounts Committee, then now forgo budget, forgo finance, forgo transport, forgo energy. So don't put park and then you put budget. No one can give you that. Honestly, if that list comes to this House, members will have a problem with that. So I am sure both sides, the leadership, will look into this matter. As I sit down, Madam Speaker, I just want to appreciate that the House has recognized that I'm a ranking member, and the House has designated a special seat for me. I'm not taking it for granted. I want to thank the House, and I just want to also encourage the leadership from my side to also recognize the same. Thank you.
You're duly recognized. Honorable members, I can see that I have 50. Honorable members, I will propose the question, and thereafter you can see many requests for debate. I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 172, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Committee on Selection, in addition to those specified under paragraphs A and B. 1, the Honorable Eric Karemba Muchangi Njiru MP. 2, the Honorable John Kiari Waweru MP. 3, the Honorable Beatrice Kahai Adagala MP. 4, the Honorable Japheth Miriti Kareka Mbikwi CBS MP. 5, the Honorable Julius Kibiwot Meli MP. 6, the Honorable Silvanus Osoro MP. 7, the Honorable Martha Wangari Wanjira, MP. 8, the Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose, MP. 9, the Honorable Lea Soipato Sankaire, MP. 10, the Honorable Anne Muratha Wanjiko Mugo, MP. 11, the Honorable Caroline Cheptoo Ngeleche, MP. 12, the Honorable Joseph Majimbo Kalasinga, MP. 13, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, CBS, MP. 13, the Honorable Joshua Kimilu, MP. 15, the Honorable Jessica Mbalu, MP. 16, the Honorable Julius Sunkuli, EGH, MP. 17, the Honorable Samuel Arama, MP. 18, the Honorable Ken Chonga, MP. 19, the Honorable Nabi Nabwera, MP. 20, the Honorable Umuker Harun, MP. 21, the Honorable Ali Wario Guyo, MP. Honorable members, I can see that there are 53 requests now of members who want to have shown interest. And like I said earlier in the morning, that a maiden speech is a maiden speech, whether you do it now or next year. For the first time, the practice of the House is to allow members a little extra leeway in the middle of in between the debate to use that opportunity to make their maiden speeches. So I think I will be asking members, let's try not to make too many interventions, to allow the members use this opportunity to make their maiden speeches. And so I now call upon the nominated member, the Honorable Bishop Jackson Koskei.
My mic is not working. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I want to begin by congratulating you, having been elected the Deputy Speaker of this august House. The same I extend to our Speaker, Honorable Wetangula, for having been elected to be the Speaker of both of you for the 13th Parliament. I also would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all members having gone through rigorous election exercises, and finally, by the grace of God, you have had an opportunity to be in this august House. Above all, Madam Speaker, I wish to recognize on behalf of those members of our society living with disabilities one way or another in this country. And I wish to express my greatest and deepest gratitude to constituencies that elected members with disabilities in this country. They are great. I wish to congratulate them for not seeing the physical, but saw the person and character of the individuals elected. I also want to take this opportunity to thank and to appreciate most sincerely my party, the United Democratic Alliance, under the leadership of His Excellency, the President of our Republic, William Samoei Ruto, having considered me, among others, to be representative of special interest groups and persons with disability. I wish to say how deep and grateful I am to be given an opportunity. I look forward that my life in Parliament in the next 5 years, I will make contribution towards improvement in terms of legislation and representation on needs of persons with disability, amongst others, in this country. Madam Speaker, as I listened to the opening inaugural speech of our speaker, he mentioned about several bills that needed to be revived in the House. We looked at them, and some of the bills which we thought should have been there includes those bills that touches on persons with disabilities, one of which had progressed from the last Parliament to Senate, and it's still there. We would like to have it looked at afresh, and soon we will approach your office. We've had a meeting with the KDIPA, which is a caucus group. We will be bringing the attention of the House that we need a relook on the instruments that helps persons with disability in this country and their families and guardians and people who are related to them one way or another in making them enjoy the benefits of the constitutional provision thanks to our Constitution. So we intend to bring into the House and the attention of the House a relook on our acts, the Disability Act, the national policy on persons with disability, the regulations, some of which are ambiguous in operation, and therefore it has hampered administration and capacity to administrate and to implement the Act. So, Madam Speaker, we will be drawing the attention of the House to the same. Today, as I make my maiden speech, I want to join colleagues who have contributed over time the last 4 days on one aspect, and that is security. Matters security is one of the contributing factors to disability. Where there is war, insecurity, people are injured, and we create more disabled in the country. I wish to appeal that maybe it will be necessary to relook at the causes and the issues that are underlining in areas that has been unstable in our country, in the northern part, the eastern coastal area, and what we have in Rift Valley, northern part of Rift Valley belt, that there is got to be a concerted effort by all leaders and look at this issue of cattle rustling as a menace that can be controlled. Having lived and worked and participated in the faith-based services in this country for the last over 40 years, I have, in my opinion, concluded that this thing requires more of a political goodwill rather than any other methods. The others are secondary, but there has never been a political goodwill at national and local level. So perhaps this House will consider at one point to reintroduce a motion that we establish a task force of this Parliament to study and to let the people participate in contributing, has to know why and what are the causes and the remedies towards insecurity, and especially in areas which are affected in the communities. With this, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I guess I've been trying since we started, but I think I was a bit analog. There was one button that I did not press, so I thought I could not see it. But thank you very much. May God bless you. Good morning.
Member for Makueni County. Okay, she's not there. Member for Wajir West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make my first maiden speech in this House. Allow me to start by thanking the Almighty Allah who has given me this opportunity to represent the people for Wajir West in this August House. I also want to congratulate you for being elected as the Deputy Speaker in this Honorable House. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the people of Wajir West from Wagala Ganyure Ward, Adem Masajida Ward, Hadado Adibohol Ward, Girif to Arbejahan Ward, for finding fit me to represent them in this Honorable House. It is with humility and deep sense of appreciation to the electorates who sent me here to represent them in this 13th House. Madam Speaker, Wajir West is unique with its own unique challenges. While it faces similar challenges in the rest of the country, but Wajir West has specific, unique challenges that none other or any other constituencies are facing in this country. Among them, it is historical injustices that happened in Wagala massacre on 10th February 1984. That several people, innocent people, were rounded up, put into an airstrip by the security agencies in this country. Madam Speaker, the child who was born on that particular day is today around 40 years old, having gone through very serious and challenging life. He grew up while he had no father, and probably his mother was raped in the same act. Madam Speaker, this massacre has been documented very well in so many reports, including the TGRC report, which gave a raft of recommendation to this country. But the only thing that was done was a blanket apology by the President of the Republic of Kenya on 2015. That was the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But the rest of the recommendation has been shelved in the shelves and archives of this country. And I appeal to this government to kindly look into it, get the recommendation, and act upon it. Madam Speaker, Wajir West has also issues of insecurity on a daily basis. As much as the security agencies are trying the best, but they are overwhelmed in so many occasions by cattle rustlers and other thugs who have decided to commercialize animal thefts, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the last 5 years, 50 people have been killed in Wajir West. Innocent people who are looking after their animals. They have done no crime. They were just surviving on their daily, they were just doing on their daily care, their daily activities. but they were butchered, killed, maimed, and their animals forcefully taken, Madam Speaker. No inquiries or arrest or investigation has been made on those matters, Madam Speaker. The government so far has not returned back the animals. They have not investigated or arrested anyone on all those that happened during those times. Madam Speaker, of late, just recently, on daily basis, cattle are being stolen, taken. Camels are also stolen and taken on daily basis. Even last night, as we speak, 60 herds of camel has been stolen, and one man who was looking after it was injured. Today, he is lying in the bed of hospital, and we don't know his situation at the moment. Madam Speaker, I appeal to the government to facilitate the security agencies who have not been facilitated in terms of movements and in terms of personnel, Madam Speaker, to act upon or carry on their mandate. Madam Speaker, these security issues are trying to deprive lives and the livelihoods of Wajir West. Wajir West people feel or have similar problems like any other part of this country, like poverty, drought, unemployment, but they have this other burden on their shoulders. They have the right, Madam Speaker, to be, Madam Speaker, to be protected. Their lives should be protected. Their animals and properties should also should be protected. They have the right enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya, Madam Speaker. The security agencies are trying their best, but they are short. They have been handicapped in terms of movement and personnel. I therefore appeal to the government of Kenya, specifically the minister that will be appointed, that has been already appointed and will be vetted in this House, to act upon my request. Madam Speaker, Wajir West also faces serious drought challenge. As we know, today, the drought issue in this country is in a very serious situation, a situation where we are about to lose lives. And if I could have been allowed in this House, I don't know the standing orders, whether they allow it or not, to play some videos to demonstrate the seriousness of that issue in this House, Madam Speaker. However, Madam Speaker, I appeal to the President of this country to kindly declare the issue of drought a disaster, so that other agencies and international communities can chip in to assist the affected people, especially the ASAL counties, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to conclude, I want to thank the people of Wajir West for having faith in me and sending me here to represent them in this August House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I now call upon Hassan Bare, member for Tarba. What's your point of order, Leader of Majority?
Sorry, Honorable Speaker, I didn't want to interrupt any of the maiden speeches, but I have noticed, Honorable Speaker, as much as members are complaining that the gadgets are changing the ordering, I noticed people are trying to relog, and maybe just as a point of information, to inform our new members, if you remove your card or you press the mic button again and it goes off, it relegates you down. I noticed that's why many of them were saying they found themselves at number 15, then fell down to number 30 because they are relogging and pressing the mic button to get your attention, Honorable Speaker. But now that I'm on my feet, Honorable Speaker, also, since you did recognize the students from pupils from Genesis Academy or Genesis School in Kikuyu, to also appreciate their presence and welcome them to the National Assembly. This is one of our best performing schools in the Republic of Kenya. In 2019, it is a school that produced the top boy, who is now a student in my former school. The school, the Alliance High School. And I want to encourage the Alliance High School. I want to encourage those students who are here from Genesis School to put in their best effort and work hard, and we look forward to their success. Those who will be sitting their KCPE this year, and I wish them all the best. And those who desire to join the Alliance High School, they have examples to follow in Andy Michael, who was the best student from that school in 2019. And of course, yours faithfully, who is an old boy of the Alliance High School, welcomes them to Alliance High School for the boys and the girls to other better national schools in the Republic. Thank you.
Honorable members, I think a member for Tarba, actually we had the member of the leader of minority who's before you, then you're next, kindly. But leader of minority, before you get your turn, I actually, the leader of majority, I had not been notified about the students from Mudhiru. I've just been notified because they are behind me, my back. I can't actually see them. So, honorable members, I wish to recognize in the public gallery the presence of the teachers and pupils from Mudhiru Genesis School from Kikuyu constituency in Kiambu County. On behalf of the House, I welcome them as they follow the proceedings of the National Assembly. Thank you. Honorable member, leader of minority, please.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Actually, I didn't want to say much on this matter because everything had been, and I also welcome the Genesis, called Genesis School from the Great Kikuyu constituency. It's a constituency that we have got fond memories of because it's the home of the Great Alliance High School. Well, Madam Speaker, let me say one or two things. And just to echo what had been said earlier by my colleague, the Honorable Chungwa. This is perhaps one of the most difficult times for leaderships in the House. Madam Speaker, I've been blessed to be here since 2013. And I can tell you, for the times that I have witnessed the happenings during and around the time of placement of members into committees, I can confirm that this is one of the most difficult times. And why do I say so? You will find a familiar pattern, more or less, on both sides of the aisle, by members essentially narrowing down to not more than 10 particular committees. You find that these committees are the first choice, are the preference, are the committees of choice to nearly 3/4 of membership. For instance, on our side as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party, okay? We find that we have well over 100 honorable members who have expressed interest to be placed on the Committee on Budget and Appropriation. Against placement opportunities of not more than 12. So, Madam Speaker, that obviously goes a long way to indicate or to show how difficult the task is to decide who then do you place there and who then do you leave out. So the issue here, therefore, Madam Speaker, is for all members to come to the understanding that even if your committee of choice is X or Y or Z, and you end up not being placed on it, and eventually you get placed on a different committee or different committees, you should take the disappointment, if I may call it so, in stride, knowing fully well that you are being left out is not on account of any lack of experience or skills or what have you. That you are not any less qualified to belong to that particular committee than those who have been placed there. That must be the guiding principle. That should be the guiding principle. That even though you've been left out from a particular committee which you had decided to belong to, you are being left out is not because you are less qualified than those who have been placed there. That must be borne in mind. And eventually, of course, the most important thing is that even in line with what the standing orders dictate, every single member of this House would have to get at least one committee. In a number of cases, members will be having 2 committees. Number of cases. Because as you also know, honorable members, following the amendments and standing orders in the tail end of the last parliament, the number of committees has been increased, even though membership of those committees has also decreased. So by and large, every single member will have a chance to belong to a committee or 2. Again, to reiterate the fact that each and every committee of this House is as important as the other. It all depends on to what use you put these committees. To what use? How well do you oversight the respective departments? How well do you engage with the executive? How well do you engage with the people who are the ultimate consumers of our work? And ultimately, each and every committee should be able to satisfy the interests and needs of all of us. So really, without really belaboring the point, my plea would be to all honorable members that even as we navigate through this process, let's try to be as cooperative as possible. Let's try to have the most possible understanding so that we get over it smoothly and as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible, so that committees can get down to work and deliver for the people of Kenya. With those preliminary remarks, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it'll be member for Tarba now, but just a brief announcement before you start. I now realize that members, nominated members, your names don't appear, when I go to your seat, it has question marks. So I think it's better if you come to the clerks and give your names. The nominated members are not appearing. Proceed, member for Tarba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this important opportunity to address this important House. I come from Tarbaj constituency, which is within Wajir County, that borders also Mandera and also Somalia in the eastern side. I also want to congratulate the Speaker and yourself for being elected in this House to preside over issues in the business of this House. I do not want to forget the people of Tarbaj constituency who have sent me here to represent them and present issues they have to the nation. Thank you to the people of Tarbaj, and specifically those who have shown much support to me. I also do not want to forget those who are also for the other contestants. I represent them all now. Madam Speaker, currently, Tarbaj constituency has a lot of challenges, but currently the biggest challenge is drought, where my constituents are losing their livestock, and they're also, some of them are at the verge of losing their lives because of lack of water. Even the security men who are supposed to guard our borders and our constituents and our people cannot even do their work. They are also suffering at the vagaries of nature. They do not have water. They call me also to supply them with water, which I cannot. So currently, Tarbaj constituency is suffering that drought. I know there are efforts which are being done by our government, headed by our President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, and his deputy. They are doing quite a bit of effort, but that is not enough. I will expect a number of rigs and a number of dams to be allocated this time, and also in the coming budget, so that for once we address this issue of water needs to a large extent in my constituency. This is one thing that has always been coming back. I hope in this term we will find a solution for this, and I wish to engage the other members or the specific committees who are going to deal with sectoral areas that are concerned with water, that this is one thing we will give a lot of preference this time, so that such challenges in my constituency can be addressed. Another thing that as a result of that situation is unemployment. There is a very wide unemployment in my constituency because people depend on livestock, and the livestock are now decimated due to drought. And we are not connected to the national grid, the power grid, which will have enhanced the startups of factories and industries. We are also experiencing the least connectivity index in the country in terms of roads. This is what we are experiencing. This situation has created an environment where job is not being created, and quite a number of my youth and my people are very much unemployed. I will expect this term that the road from Modagashi to Mandera will be tarmacked such that business will be enhanced. The national grid will also be connected from Garissa to Mandera, so that industries can begin and private people can take up initiatives that will rejuvenate job creation. This is one thing that is of a bother to my people, and I hope this will be addressed. 3, one more thing my constituency experiences is environmental problem. This is an era where environmental concerns, climatic changes are a debate in the whole world. My constituency, being a dry constituency, which does not have electricity enough or electricity connectivity, people depend largely on the few shrubs that exist for fire and energy. They are forced to hew fire from wherever they find, and that extends or exacerbates the drought situation in my area. I hope, with focus in electricity connectivity, special consideration or preference to certain companies that will introduce usage of gas, because in my constituency I want to allocate some little money to some people who are going to be providing gas energy, and teach my people how to use this so that they can lessen the use for firewood. I hope the ministry concerned will also join me in encouraging these people to extend that service to my constituency, so that pressure on firewood is going to be lessened. I will also want the Ministry of Environment and other ministries who are also concerned, especially energy, to help me recruit a number of young men as guards, environmental guards, so that they can be diverted from collecting firewood or cutting the few trees that we have, and they are meaningfully engaged on unemployment to guard those ones. These are some of the issues. One more issue that's also of concern to my constituency is the education sector. As they say, if you want to interfere with the progress of a society, you play around with the education. I must say, you will find schools with close to 600 or 700 students where you will find only one teacher or two teachers in my constituency. And that is widespread in the northern area. I know in the last term, a number of my MPs have had an initiative to improve that by taking up a proposal with the ministry and TSC, but that has been quashed and kept aside. Quite a number of teachers are recruited from across the country, but when they get there and probably registered or accepted as a teacher, they give an excuse of the place being inhospitable because of insecurity and such things. Those are just but excuses, but that is accepted from them by TSC. I hope this does not happen, and if it continues, or TSC gives a chance to recruit teachers from that area, such that the qualifications pegged on teachers does not apply to a certain extent in those areas, so that we can have local teachers employed. I know one more issue that my constituency has is the issue of access to citizenship documents, ID cards and passports. Recently, or a week ago, I was pursuing a case where a young man from constituency who is qualified in every way was following me for almost 2 weeks so that I can facilitate issuance of a passport to him. And when I took up, I was told it is the intelligence people who are verifying whether he's a Kenyan or not. I had to follow up. The intelligence people had no problem, and they've given him go ahead. But still, it took a long time for that information to come here, even with technology being advanced lately. I know with the IPRS, Integrated Population Registration System in place, and the Huduma number that we've registered for, this verification from the ground should not take place anymore. This information should be at the fingertips of the immigration people. The director should have that information. I consulted the director, and he said he's doing something with that. I hope that is going to work. I do not want any more of my constituencies running after me for basic rights like ID and such things. I hope another challenge that I have is security, because I am bordering Somalia. My constituency, the Tarbaj constituency, gets a lot of incursion from an illegal group that operates in Somalia. I will want some facilities like sub-counties, and so sub-counties established in a number of my wards in my constituency, so that I can get enough security personnel to beef up security in my area. I know I will have more time. That is what I wish to say now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member for Kiambu County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to give my maiden speech. My name is Anne Muratha, the woman rep, Kiambu County. I would first want to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam Speaker, on your election as the Deputy Speaker of this House, and also want to congratulate the Speaker on his election as the Speaker also of this House. I also want to congratulate our President for giving us leadership during the campaigns and allowing us to get the opportunity to be elected by all these people. I personally want to thank the people of Kiambu for believing in me and giving me thousands of their votes to come and represent them in this August House. I am indeed very grateful for the 12 constituencies in Kiambu County and the 60 wards that believed in me and gave me their thousands of votes. And I want to assure them that I'm going to represent them in this House, and that God giving me His grace, I'll be able to serve all of them as is the wish that I had when I requested them to give me their votes so that I may be the third woman rep in Kiambu County. I also want to believe there's an issue that I've been thinking about in this house, where we have come from elections and we are like having so many people with so many issues, people who still don't believe that they lost elections. And I want our people to know and to understand that the situation the country is in after the post-election season that we are going through, our people need to understand that people are suffering out there and people are tired of politics. People are tired of nonsensical dramas. And all the people want is people to now continue, the leaders to now work for them. It doesn't matter what party you are in. We need to understand that we now have to come together for the sake of our country. And I get irritated when I see some people who believe that being in the opposition is fighting everything that the government is doing. And my prayer is that we may work together. And especially as I bring in the issues of Kiambu, of the sale of illicit pombe in Kiambu that has destroyed our young people. I would want us to be looking into such issues as a house and trying to see how we can help the counties that are going through such problems. I'd also want us to come to a point where we also talk about the issues of mental wellness. We realize our people are killing one another every day. We realize that families are dying every day. Husbands killing wives and killing children and destroying their families. And I'm looking to a point where we will now need to be sitting together as Kenyan leaders and speak on behalf of our people and look into ways of how we can develop our centers for such things and looking into mental wellness. So that when we are able to help our people, we are seeing even people in the forces, in the police, in the army, killing one another, and these are the issues we need to address. And when we continue looking at these people, then we'll become of help to our people. I would also want to thank the people of Azimio so much. I realized yesterday that Baba decided to go to the people's, he became the people's leader and went to their parliament. And I thought this is the way to go, Madam Speaker. I thought of saying this is now where these people belong. Let him be there. Let him understand what people want out there. Let him tell us what we need to do to our people. Instead of fighting us, let them tell us what we are supposed to do. We do not have another country, and all of us need to stand for this country and stand for what is right regardless of where you are. So I would want to request our people that as we move on, let us now move on as a country. The other thing, I would want to thank our president so much because of the issue that he came up with of the removal of our people from CRB. You realize that there are some people who are just unable to pay their debts, and now that they are defaulters, but because of the economic situation in the country, they were not able to pay, and they were listed among and blacklisted with the people who never pay their debts, and they were outlined as defaulters. I thank the president so much for giving these people a second chance so that they can be able to get loans, and especially where I come from, our people believe in working for themselves and earning their own money. And so when they are given an opportunity where they can get some small loans and can be able to access instead of being blacklisted, I really want to thank the president so much, because I have seen especially the boy child, young and the old, when they do not have money, then these are the people who are resorting into so many suicidal cases even in our county. And so I want to thank the president so much for giving this opportunity. I would also want to request the government to avoid the issues of borrowing locally, so that they can also give our people the idea of trying to get money from the banks and also being assisted by the banks that are around to be able to get loans and be able to move on with their lives. So finally, Madam Speaker, I would just want to make this very one humble request in this house. I would just want to pray to our people and to request us to work as a team. My prayer is that we work as a team. I want to make a very humble prayer, a very, very humble prayer as a mother, as a wife and a citizen of this country, to our people in Azimio, to accept that the country has to move on and to accept that the our president is none other than William Samoei Ruto, and that the country has to go on and we have to move on, and they need to believe and they need to live with that. So that as we continue working, they also need to give the president time to work. He's not a robot. It's only a month. They need to give our president a time to organize the country and to be able to move on. And last one but not least, I would also want to request, if we are able as a House to be able to give the CSS, I would also want to congratulate the President also for appointing Moses Kuria, Honorable Moses Kuria. And I want to pray that as we get into this moment, as I continue requesting us to continue working together, we request the rights of Moses Kuria when they get such an opportunity. Let our greatest request be that we get industries, manufacturing, and all what requires our young people to get job opportunities. We have so many young people outside there languishing in poverty, and they need to hear from us. So I would want to pray that as we support the president, let us support the cabinet that he is bringing in so that our people can be able to move on. And above all, let us have a cry for our young people who are jobless so that they can get an opportunity to be able to get a living. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. May God bless you, and God bless this House, and God bless Kenya. Thank you.
Member for Luanda.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. This is my very first time to speak in this August House, and probably it will be right to first and foremost declare my presence. My name is Dickson Maungu, newly elected Member of Parliament for Luanda. Madam Speaker, I must take this opportunity to thank the people of Luanda for having entrusted me and found it fit that I represent them in this prestigious house. I've been actually on the queue for the last 4 or so days waiting to speak, but I think my time was meant for today, so I say thank you very much. Allow me to say congratulations for being elected as our Deputy Speaker, and to our good Speaker in absentia, allow me also to say congratulations. Madam Speaker, I will also wish to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the people of Luanda for having trusted me as a Member of Parliament in this prestigious House. It was my first attempt, and out of great respect, they found it fit that I could present them. I want to say thank you very much, the great men and women of Luanda who woke up very early in the morning to cast their votes, and also in my favor as a Member of Parliament. I want to say that Luanda constituency actually faces a number of challenges, and I did run my campaign on the platform of change, the platform of transformation, and I do believe that during my reign as a Member of Parliament, I will be able to champion their interests and represent the people of Luanda in a way that so befits them. Madam Speaker, Luanda experiences a huge challenge in terms of youth and employment. We have a large mass of young people who remain unemployed, and this remains an issue of concern, just like it happens in the rest of the country. We have issues to do with infrastructure, and therefore, during my campaign, I ran the campaign the platform of an IC agenda, where I stood for infrastructure, Madam Speaker. Infrastructure is a very, very important component for any kind of development to happen in any given place in this country. And I desire that on the platform of infrastructure, we have 2 important roads in Luanda, which I desire that in the course of time should be completed. We have one, Maseno-Kombewa. Madam Speaker, this is a road that began more than 8 years ago and has remained to be incomplete. I do believe that I'll be able to champion for the same and ensure that that road is completed and of great use to the people. This road, Madam Speaker, does cut across 3 counties and 3 sub-counties. That is Luanda, Rarieda, and Seme. The road began from Seme but for some reason or the other stopped when it reached Rwanda. It's my prayer that we may be able to find out the results behind it and ensure that it's complete. We equally have another very, very important infrastructure. That's the road that connects Rwanda to Mbale. Madam Speaker, I seek to ensure that in partnership with the national government, that this road is completed in a record time. I also had an agenda of security, and as we speak, insecurity is a matter of concern across this country, and more so to the business community in Rwanda. Rwanda constituency has got 5 gazetted police stations, Madam Speaker, but of these 5, only one that was constructed many, many years ago, and the rest are not. It's my prayer that during my reign, we may be able to improve on security by ensuring that we have been able to put up modern police stations, fully deployed with an OCS, that will be able to ensure that security is improved, more so to the business community and the general population of Rwanda. We had an agenda on education, Madam Speaker. This agenda is dear to us because Rwanda being what it is, Madam Speaker, we are limited in the sense that we have very little land. But I believe that the only way we can be able to empower people is ensuring that they have access to bursary, ensuring that they are well supported in matters of education, which will improve their welfare, and more so enable them to be self-employed or even create employment, Madam Speaker. Therefore, we seek to ensure that our only TVET, which we so desire to have many years ago, Madam Speaker, is brought to fruition, and this I intend to pursue with the relevant government authorities to ensure that it is done. Madam Speaker, we have one more important thing that I need to bring to your attention. That is about empowerment. We find that with the rate of unemployment happening in our country, the only way we can be able to bridge this gap, the gap between the rich and the low people, Madam Speaker, is ensuring that our people are well empowered. The government, the current administration, has a fund which we refer to as a Hustlers Fund, Madam Speaker. Though this country has had very many other funds. We have the Wezo Fund, we have the Women Fund, we have the Youth Enterprise Fund, and here comes now the Hustlers Fund, Madam Speaker. It's my prayer that this fund will go a long way in empowering the Mamamboga, in empowering the border person, so that these people can be able to come up in a way that will be able to feed and ensure that they take care of their families. Madam Speaker, on the order of the day, which is about the motion on the Committee on Selection, I have a few things to note, Madam Speaker. It is true that, as rightly put by members before me, that we have very many people who may have chosen specific committees. You know, the notion out here, Madam Speaker, is that these committees have got weights. Weights in the sense that there are those which are more important than others. But I believe that as members of this prestigious House, we should be able to ensure there's fairness, there's equity, and more so representation. For example, looking at the members that have been put forward, a committee of 5 people, Madam Speaker, but I failed to feature or to see a member who will be able to articulate, for example, under the Azimio umbrella, who will be able to stand out and represent a small party in the name of DAP, Madam Speaker. Therefore, my prayer that the committee sits down to decide, they sit down to maybe distribute, they sit down to maybe allocate these committees, Madam Speaker. We shall see fairness, we shall see experience being put into practice, we shall see professionalism being put into practice, Madam Speaker. It may not make so much sense, for example, that a member is put in a committee that will have little to contribute, whereas with his experience or expertise, this person can be of great use to another committee and be able to contribute to the development of this nation. Madam Speaker, my prayer is that this committee sits down, let them gel between the more experienced people, so far referred as the ranking members, and the newly elected members, so that the ranking members may be able to bring in their wealth of experience, and the new members, Madam Speaker, may also be able to bring in new ideas, may be able to bring in new philosophies. And out of that, Madam Speaker, I believe that we shall be able to have a committee that will be able to present representation, a committee that will be able to provide oversight, and a committee that will be able to stand for the people. We discover, Madam Speaker, that the current system of government we have, it is only this House that can provide oversight. This House can only provide oversight if we have men and women of integrity, men and women of unquestionable character, men and women, Madam Speaker, who will be able to champion for the rights of the people, to champion for the interests of all the people. And that can only happen by having ably, well-represented committees in this House, Madam Speaker. I therefore wish to conclude by saying, Madam Speaker, that I support the names provided, or the names indicated, and do pray that the committees will provide a very, very fair way in which anybody can find himself well representing the people that came, the people that sent him here. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Asante sana.
Member for Mosop constituency.
Madam Speaker, allow me to, first of all, thank you for this opportunity that you've given me. But before that, I want to thank God for this opportunity, because I came to realize that it was by the grace of God that I made it to this house. Against all odds, that coming from diaspora, running for office, it was not easy. So allow me to thank God for this opportunity. Allow me as well to congratulate you for being elected as the Deputy Speaker to this House, and also to thank and congratulate the Speaker that he was also elected as the Speaker of the House. Allow me as well to thank the people of Mosop for giving me this opportunity. We had almost 9 aspirants, but God gave me an opportunity to lead. So I want to thank the people of Mosop, and I want to assure them, even as we move forward, I believe that we'll be able to accomplish and do much together. There were several promises that we made to the people of Mosop, but I want to assure you that we will continue to work together, to stand together, and we'll be able to achieve much. Mosop is an agricultural constituency. 80% of the people in Mosop depend on agriculture. And we want to believe that these 5 years we'll be able to focus much on the issue of sugarcane, we'll focus on the issue of maize, and also the issue of tea and coffee, because it is a constituency that purely depends on agriculture. So we want to thank the President even for the subsidy of the fertilizer that he did the last few weeks ago. Again, Madam Speaker, I want to touch on an issue that also the President mentioned on his speech about the members of the citizens of Kenya who live in the diaspora. For a very long time, Madam Speaker, Kenyans in diaspora has been neglected for a very long time. They contribute over 285 billion to the economy of this country, but they've not been represented. Their rights, for sure, have been neglected. And I want to believe that in the next 5 years, as we move forward, and I'll be representing their interests in this House, that we will be able to consider even having diaspora as a county or one of the counties that we will have to elect or give them nomination so that their interests will be still represented here. These issues we've continuously raised in the diaspora, that we only send money, but when it comes to issues of the embassies representing the interest, it has not. We have an embassy in Washington, D.C., but we have Kenyans in different parts of the country that they are not able to get to the embassy. Kenyans who live in Dallas, Kenyans who live in Georgia, they have to make a visit, and it's very expensive for them to go to Washington, for them to renew their passports, for them to be addressed on their issues. But we want to ask the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to consider opening several consulates in various parts of the foreign countries, if it's US, if it's Australia, if it's UK, if it's whatever country the Kenyans are. I want to hope that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will consider. I thank the President because he came up with the Ministry of Diaspora, even though it did not eventually become the ministry of itself. but it became a docket that they are going to maybe they might appoint peers that will be able to address the issues of some of these foreign nationals that we have outside of Kenya. We have several Kenyans who are going through a lot of struggles. The issue of Kenyans who live in Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East. This issue has been brought into this house for many times. What can we do to make sure that the interest of these Kenyans when they go out of the country is protected? But the government has been reluctant in monitoring and supervising the agencies that send these people outside the country. I know that there are laws that monitor agencies, but they've been reluctant to make sure that they make sure that the Kenyans outside of Kenya are protected. So I hope that we'll have a bill in this house that is going to protect the rights of Kenyans. We have seen on audios, videos, and also the concerns that has been raised, but nobody has taken it very seriously. So I want to believe that in these few years, we'll be able to address the issues of those Kenyans who live abroad. I want to give them an assurance that for the time I'll be here, I will represent their issues. We will be able to raise these issues. We'll write the bills that will protect them, because we want our sisters, our brothers who go outside the country to be given the opportunity to do the best they can. But at the same time, we want to make sure that they are protected as well. For the people of Mosop, we have insecurity issue along the Nandi escarpment as we border the western and the Nandi region. And I want to assure them that in the next few days, we will be having a meeting so that we can address this issue of the border. I've had a chance to talk with the Member of Parliament a neighboring Member of Parliament, and we sat down and we discussed why should we continue to have insecurity issue for a very long time along the Nandi escarpment. When we have the border, we all know where the border lies. Why has the government not actually effected so that we don't have these issues any longer of the neighbors fighting along the Nandi escarpment border? The other issue, Madam Speaker, that I want to address is the issue of the housing, low-income housing, that the President mentioned that in the next few months or the next few years, he will facilitate to make sure that almost every Kenyan will have an opportunity to own a home. In Mosop, we don't have major shopping centers or major towns, but we want to make sure they also benefit to own a home. So I want to think and believe that the ministry will sit down and figure out, other than the cities, which is Nairobi, Eldoret, and these big cities, how will the people in the rural areas benefit from this program? If we are saying that we will just try to make sure that everybody owns a home, there has to be a program that will help my people in Mosop to own a home with a cheaper price. So I want to believe that we'll be able to sit down and discuss these issues. 3, the issue of digital currency. For a very long time, the rest of the world have moved on and they are just legalizing the digital currency. The US have done the same, Nigeria, and several other countries. I intend to bring to the floor of this House a bill to help us to legalize the issue of the digital currency. I think this is something that we really need to discuss. This is something we need to get into it, because if the world is moving and becoming digital, I believe that the issue of the digital money should be addressed and we should be able to legalize, and the central bank should be able to legalize this issue. With that, Madam Speaker, I want to say thank you again for the opportunity. I know that for the last 4 days, I have really tried. I'm always the first one to come in and the last to leave, and I don't get a chance to actually express these issues. But I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank the people of Mosop, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again.
Thank you, Member for Mosop. Before I call upon the Member for Nambale and followed by the Member for Chepalungu, I have an announcement. Honorable members, I wish to recognize in the public gallery the presence of staff and students of the Nairobi Leadership Academy from South Sea, Lang'ata constituency of Nairobi County. On behalf of the House, I welcome them as they follow the proceedings of the National Assembly. Thank you. Member for Nambale constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity to address this House in my maiden speech. For the benefit of my fellow members, my name is Geoffrey Mulanya, the independent member for Nambale constituency. Madam Speaker, first I wish to thank you and congratulate you on your election as a Deputy Speaker of this House. Secondly, I wish to thank the people, the great people of Nambale, for electing me as their Member of Parliament, despite the difficult circumstances prevailing at the time. Madam Speaker, it was not easy to make it in Nambale as an independent member of, to this House, and I'm not taking this for granted. Madam Speaker, some of the reasons why the people of Nambale saw it fit to elect me to this House is on the issues I advanced to them that touch to the livelihood, particularly the issue on electricity, road network, agriculture, education, and water supply. First, let me address the issue on electricity supply, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have a serious problem in Nambale constituency whereby electricity supply is not stable, and this has affected greatly our people, especially the young people that depend on electricity supply for their livelihood. Madam Speaker, I really implore upon the Ministry of Energy to look into the issue, because we have prolonged power blackouts that last as long as 12 hours in Nambale constituency. So we don't understand this common occurrence that has prevailed for more than 4 years. So we really wish that this matter will be addressed with the agenda that this deserves. Secondly, on the issue of health, I'm aware that health docket is one of the devolved functions. But Madam Speaker, I will implore upon fellow members to look into this issue of health, especially leaving health to the devolved, as one of the devolved units, Madam Speaker. Our people are really suffering, in the sense that you will find that the allocation given to the counties is not adequate enough to address some of the issues. For instance, Nambale, we have one of the oldest health centers that has been elevated to level 3 hospital, but indeed is supposed to be a level 4 given the population of the people of Nambale. But we, besides that, we also need to look to address the issue of the health policy, whereby I've been observing since since 2013, when we had the devolved functions, and noted that the health department is one of the departments that has stagnated in growth, whereby there's no progression in terms of the health service being offered to our people. You will find that the health facilities are at the same level that where they were even before devolution was introduced in this country. So I will be urging fellow members that we really look into the issue and analyze properly the issue of health, so that we determine whether health should be a function that should be fully left for the devolved units, Madam Speaker. On the issue of agriculture, Madam Speaker, I wish to state that the people of Nambale depend 80% on agriculture as the backbone of the economy. And I'm happy that the President, in his speech in this House, gave emphasis on the supporting farmers so that they can contribute to the growth of the economy. And on that note, he promised that, and followed up with the issue of the subsidies on fertilizer. Madam Speaker, the difficulty the people of Nambale are facing is to access this subsidized fertilizer. You note that this subsidized fertilizer is being channeled through the National Cereals and Produce Board. For the people of Nambale, we don't have the benefit of having the National Cereals Boards near them. The nearest is in Bungoma and Malaba. Bungoma, Madam Speaker, is 80 kilometers away, and the farmers are really hampered to access this particular commodity. We believe that the Ministry of Agriculture should deem it fit to ensure that this subsidy fertilizer is distributed through the constituencies or the sub-counties, so that we as the representative, we can help farmers access the fertilizer and also register them for distribution. On the issue of the road network, Madam Speaker, this is another challenge that is really affecting the growth of a great constituency, in that we only have one tarmac road from Mumias to Busia town. We have the two other key roads that are connecting the constituency, that is the Butla Malaba Road and Mumias Mianga Kimait Road. These roads are very key to support the business of the people of Nambale, so that they can easily access the available market to sell their produce. But from the 1990, we have never had expansion of road network in the constituency. I believe that this current government will look into issue and ensure that Nambale also benefit from the national cake. On the issue of education, Madam Speaker, I note the great concern that we have serious teacher shortage, and I'll implore upon the Teacher Service Commission to ensure that they employ more teachers to deploy in the schools in Ambali constituency. I was there last weekend. One of the school, Madibo Primary, with a population of 800 students, it only has 9 teachers, Madam Speaker. This number is quite low, and we believe that the ministry will look into the issue so that we can have enough teachers deployed in our constituency. Madam Speaker, there is also another great concern on the issue of Ebola. Nambale constituency is close to the Busia border, and last week we had through the ministry surveillance, we had issues of 2 cases which turned out to be negative, but we cannot take this for granted. I really call upon the Ministry of Health to work closely with our county government so that they can deploy enough qualified personnel to ensure that they do proper screening for the people entering our country from Busia border, because our people are greatly apprehensive that if this issue is not addressed, we may have another pandemic in our constituency, Madam Speaker. On the issue of farming, again, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that when the President visited the great county of Homa Bay, he talked about cotton farming. Madam Speaker, Nambale constituency is one of the constituencies that have been farming cotton in this country, and we even have a defunct cotton ginnery that is not functioning. Madam Speaker, if the ministry revives the farming of cotton, I would implore upon the ministry to ensure that Nambale is one of the areas considered, because it is an area that previously cotton was doing very well. So we believe that this particular cash crop will help our people improve on the economy. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving the opportunity to make my maiden speech in this House. Thank you.
Member for Chevalungu constituency.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I am a member, a new member, so to say. You remember I've been to your desk severally. I came here with the knowledge of any time I want to speak, I will speak to the floor of the House. But since I've learned that resilience pays, and that is why I am here. First, I want to congratulate you, like my earlier colleagues, for your election as our Deputy Speaker. We believe and trust in you that you will serve us equally. And to say many thanks and congratulations to the Kenya Kwanza team, for the President, and to congratulate and to appreciate my people, the great people of Chepalungu, for having faith and trust in me. It's been a journey that started long time ago. For them to have one of their own, a child born and bred from the same constituency, from nowhere to being a member of parliament, is a greater achievement. And to thank my party that sponsored me here, that against all odds, I am a member of parliament through the CCM party. And you all know that there was a wave, but nonetheless, the people of my constituency saw it fit to elect me as their member. And to believe that the main aim of all of us here debating is to make progress and never to win. Madam Speaker, I want to make few comments. I'll try my best to be short and to be brief and stay to the point. I want to speak about the poor road network in my constituency. And before 2013, I want to report to this House that we had 0 kilometers in terms of tarmac road. Nonetheless, we benefited from a project that was launched in 2015, and we were able to be connected to a tarmac road that was poorly done. I want to believe that it wasn't the standard that we expected as the people of Chepalungu. And I want to make recommendations that in the future of this House, we should put proper consideration in terms of the standards of roads that we give to the various constituencies, because we come from different geographical areas and therefore different types of soil. I want to thank the government for giving us the second road that is serving Kyogong, Sigor, all the way to Chebunya and Kaboson. But we were about to celebrate, but along the way, the contractor left the site, and up to now, we are yet to see him. I have made several attempts to visit the relevant offices, but we believe that the new budget chairperson will put into consideration and put it in the budget line so the contractor can come back to site and complete the already started work for tarmacking of the same road. Madam Speaker, as we all know about the last mile connectivity that was done and initiated by the previous government, I want to report that in my constituency, it wasn't done to our expectation, and as I speak, it is only 31% of all the areas in my constituency that benefited from the same program. On this, I will urge the Kenya Kwanza government to still reconsider budgeting for the same so that our constituents can be able to benefit from the same program. Madam Speaker, I want to weigh into the CDF. I am a product of the same, having benefited so many times during my schooling days. Previously, and as I speak, a lot of our students are at home due to lack of school fees. It is causing mayhem, calls left, right, and center. Parents are asking about the bursaries. And in this particular situation, I want to urge all the concerned bodies that it is for the benefit of our country to have the CDF back. I know it's a matter that is being handled by the different entities, but I want to believe that it's godly and it's timely. Because why not for the CDF? Personally, as a member of parliament, I don't know where I would be. There are projects that I've seen with my naked eye being undertaken by CDF to prosperity. There is a new institution within my constituency, and at this particular moment, I want to congratulate my predecessor, Mheshimiwa Gideon Koskei, who initiated an institution by the name Shongiroi KMTC, which is located at Shongiroi. I promised my constituents that among my priorities was to complete the same institution. If CDF is not going to be there, I will face the lynch of Mwananchi, because they will not understand that I'm not able to access CDF as initially it was. There are many pending projects within my constituency that I would wish to see and to make sure of their completion if I am, or if the constituency continue to benefit from the same kitty. I want to speak in particular, Madam Speaker, to an institution, a TTI institution that is in Chebunya Ward within my constituency. It was a project initiated and started, but it is not in good shape as we speak today. One reason is because it lacks the necessary equipment to have it functional. As I report today, I have roughly less than 400 students, whereas the same institution that was started together have more than 2,000 in terms of the students' capacity. I would really want to follow it up with the TVET Institute.
Member for Funyula, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. We are debating a motion moved under Standing Order 172, and that's the appointment of members of the Committee on Selection, which is an extremely important committee that will set this House into work. In view of the fact that time is almost lapsing, I stand on Standing Order 95, and with your permission, Honorable Speaker, ask that the mover may now be called upon to reply. Thank you.
Is that the mood of the House, that the mover should proceed to reply? Yes. The ayes have it. Mover, I now call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me thank the member who has raised that, because of the time and I think also interest of members had dissipated a little bit on this particular motion. And just thank the members who have contributed to this motion and supported the appointment of this very important selections committee that will now be able to get down to work and place all our members in their respective committees. Honorable Speaker, as I reply, I would also wish to request that you consider putting the question as a first order of business this afternoon because of the obvious reasons. If you look around the chamber, Honorable Speaker, and with those very few remarks, again, thank you to all the members, and we look forward to putting the question in the afternoon and transacting the other business that's lined up in the afternoon. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to reply.
Honorable members, I put the question, which is that
if you are a holder of any unclaimed financial assets, surrender all unclaimed financial assets in your possession to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, today without having to pay interest or penalties. Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. For more information, visit www.ufaa.go.ke/holders. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.